All right, for my most recently finished language arts readers workshop book, I read True Grit by Charles Portis. I came across the book when I saw it sitting in Miss Smith's room on the front of the whiteboard, and I remembered that I saw both the movies, the older one and the newer one. Um, I decided to read it because I found the movies very interesting when I saw both of them. And after I finished the book, I found out that the plot from the older movie and the book, and even the dialogue from both of them, are almost exactly similar. And I drew a lot of parallels between the plot of both the book and the movie, and I thought that was cool. I also decided to read the book because, based off of seeing the movie, I discovered that I like reading and learning about historical fiction and stuff along those like genres and lines. I think it's like really cool to see what life was like back in the Western days and other types of times in the past because it's cool to see what it was like and draw parallels between what happens in the present in our lives and what it was like in the past, and to see what people from different times in the past did in their everyday lives and what it was like for them. One thing that the author Charles Portis is really good at is structuring his scenes and setting up for them. They always seem to be very interesting for me, and I can always, stay hooked in reading them. A problem that I've had in the past with reading books is that the plot gets really boring and it doesn't interest me anymore. With True Grit, I never had a problem with that. He always kept the plot interesting, and I just liked reading it. It flowed very well with me, and yeah, it worked out really good while I was reading it. Quote to show an example of how he sets up his scenes happens to be on the very first page. He starts off the book by saying, "People do not give it credence that a 14-year-old girl could leave home and go off in the wintertime to avenge her father's blood, but it did not seem so strange then, although I will say it does not happen every day." For me, this hook worked very effectively. It made me want to read more into the book, and you know, even though I saw the movie, it made me want to like read more into the book and see what was actually going to happen. He kind of like left a mystery type hook on the end to make you keep reading and like kind of wonder and do a little bit of foreshadowing yourself to think and make assumptions of what would happen later on in the book. The two main characters in the book are the narrator and Rooster Cogburn, who is a U.S. Marshal, and he is hired by the narrator to avenge her father's death. The narrator's father was killed by a gunslinger who was currently living with a double identity. He was claimed to be someone else when really he was an escaped fugitive from Texas who's being hunted by another man. But the main concept of the book and plot is about Rooster and the narrator and how they both go out into Native Indian territory to track down and kill the man who killed the narrator's father. The author, Charles Borders, also does a really clever job of describing and introducing his two characters. When the narrator goes in town to find a little more about Rooster Cogburn, one of the descriptions that was given to him was a pitiless man who is double tough and fear does not enter into his thinking. I thought this was a clever way of describing Rooster Cogburn's personality, and it was just very short, brief wording, but it really packed a punch and describes his personality down to a T. At least that's what I think. And basically, I thought it was a very good book overall. I highly suggest it to people who want to read a book that has, a lot of action for a book and also like that historical aspect. In conclusion, I'd probably give this book maybe like an 8 out of 10. It's not one of the best books I've read, but it's definitely up there in the ranks, maybe in the top 5. In conclusion, it was a great book, and yep, that's pretty much it.